Happy New Year, everyone! I'm so excited to kick off 2025 with a little Valentine's Day inspiration. In today's video, we're looking back at 5 of my favorite DIY Valentine's Day projects, perfect for adding love and creativity to your home this season. And don't forget, timestamps and links to all the projects are in the description box to make it easy for you to find exactly what you need. Let's get started. Today I'll be showing you how to make these super cute and easy no-sew fleece pillows. Perfect for Valentine's Day, or if you're like me, every day. So, the first project that we're going to be working on is a tie pillow, and I'm wanting to make it in a heart shape for Valentine's. So I'm going to be using, or I did use this as a template for the size and shape of the heart to use. And if you look at this, this is about a 12 by 12 relative, I guess, would be. So I have a piece of poster board here that I went ahead and did half of the heart because I just have a piece of poster board here. If you're so inclined and you want to, you could trace the whole thing on a poster board and do your pattern that way, or you don't even have to use a pattern at all. You could just totally freehand it. I'm a pattern girl, so I'm going to go ahead and go with the pattern. So I did trace it out, and I just made one correction here, and I just straightened out the line because it did curve a little bit, but that's no matter. After I traced it out, now I did add a 1.5 inch allowance to cut to make the ties, because I do want it to remain this size. So that's how I did the pattern, and I did have to add an extra piece here. You can see on the blue tape on the front I did the clear tape, but I did the blue tape on the back just so you could see I did have to add some on there to make it a complete heart. Anyway, we're going to set this to the side, and the material we're going to be using today is fleece blanket from Dollar Tree, and this is a 30 by 30 inch piece. So you want to be mindful of, if you're going to be using the Dollar Tree fabric, you just want to be mindful of the size of the heart you're going to use. I don't know if they brought these back. I did get these last February, or even in January, I believe. And they had this color and a blue one, and unfortunately I didn't get the blue one, and I wish I did now for Easter time. But anyway, you all might remember this one here, or this one came out shortly after. So these are actually pretty coordinating here for Valentine's Day, or even again for Easter. So I'm gonna go ahead and work with this pink and white one right now. And so again, you do have to be mindful as far as where you cut your fabric for the size of your heart. And so to not waste fabric, I'm going to open my fabric up here and then fold it back over on itself again. And then I'm just going to see if I folded it over enough, and I did. So what I want to do is get as close to the edge with the widest part of the heart without going over into the seam allowance. And that'll help have the least amount of waste as possible. So from here, if you're new to sewing, typically this would be a thinner piece, and you would pin down your pattern, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take it and cut it, and I'm going to cut it with a rotary cutter. If you don't have a rotary cutter, or you aren't comfortable with using a rotary cutter, you can also trace your pattern out. You just want to use a light color or disappearing ink pen, so that will not show up on your final product. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut this out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. And then what I'm going to do is take the fabric now. I'm actually going to come on this side
reset this up. Okay, so we're just trying to waste the least amount of fabric as possible. And I already know that I'm not going to be able to cut it in the same direction, because you can already see when I flip this up, it's not going to be enough fabric here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of trying to cut it like this, I'm going to flip it and cut it like this. So now when I flip it up, you see there's fabric here, and it's all going to be cut out. And I'm going to have hardly any waste of fabric here. And we still have, oops, excuse me, I'm sorry. We still have plenty of fabric left. Now, we may not be able to get another heart pillow this same size out of it, but you can most certainly do a smaller one or save it for another project. But we have quite a bit of fabric left there. Okay, so next, what you want to do is just put your pieces together, and you want to put them together so the right sides are on the outside. You really can't tell too much with these blankets. So, and the next thing you want to do is you want to have your sewing scissors, or your fabric scissors, excuse me. And what I did was I actually used this to help me get the slits in it, because I did use this to cut the pattern, this pattern piece. So all I'm going to do is just use this for my 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to kind of check it here to make sure that's where I'm at. And I'm a little bit over here, it looks like. Or maybe it was just a little bit bigger than 1.5 inches. There's 1.5 inches. Maybe it's just a little bit bigger, and that's okay. Okay, so, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So what you want to do is you want to start cutting your slits, and you want them to be at least a 1/2 inch apart, or at most. You want them to be 1/2 inch apart, I should just say. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly on the nose, but that's, you know, what you want. And you want these to be, again, about 1.5 inches long, so you have something to hold on to when you get ready to start tying it. Now, you can always cut out your pattern piece if you don't have this wooden piece like I do. You can always cut out your pattern piece and put it on there, or you can just trace it, again, with a light colored pen or a disappearing ink. So you just want to cut this around here. Oops, it's a little bit bigger. And fleece is very forgiving, so it's not gonna fray on you and look crazy. So when I get down to the bottom, what I'm gonna do is cut straight from tip to tip, and then I'm gonna come over here and cut two there, like with the triangle here and a triangle here, and that just helps the bottom be clean. So it's almost like you're cutting out a square on the diagonal, if that makes sense. Okay, so then we're just gonna continue going around here. And when I get finished cutting these. I will be right back. Okay, so I've gotten everything, all of my slits cut. So the next thing I'm going to do is start tying it. And I'm going to start tying a couple of these up here, and you just want to do a regular knot. Just like that. Just this regular simple knot. So now that I've gotten a couple of those tied up, what I want to do is skip a few to be able to stuff it. So I'm just going to put my hand over here to act like I'm doing a fist, to be able to get my fist in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and start tying off where I know for sure my hand will be able to fit in there to put the stuffing in. Okay. And then I'm just going to keep tying them. This one is a good project, like if you have kids that know how to tie knots, or like a teenager that would want to do something like this. This is also just, you know, cute little decor for holidays. So I'm going to continue tying these until I get all the way around. Okay, so I'm done tying the pieces together, and it's looking kind of crazy right now, but we're going to go ahead and get it stuffed. And I have some stuffing here from a pillow, an old pillow. You could also use polyfill. Polyfill is rather expensive. I've heard of people actually going and just purchasing like a body pillow or pillows from Walmart, and it would be a little less expensive than using polyfill. Again, old pillows that you have, like the bed pillows or just anything kind of old that you can use. And we're just going to go in here and stuff it, just for money saving than purchasing polyfill, because that can get rather expensive. I mean, you do get quite a bit of it, but if you don't do that many projects that require stuffing, then you really don't need to go out and purchase a big bag of polyfill. So we're just going to go ahead and stuff that, and you want to, because you see how it's kind of packed in from being used, you just kind of want to pull it apart just to kind of fluff it back up, and that'll give it new life when it's going into your new pillow. Now that the pillow is stuffed to my satisfaction, I'm going to go ahead and finish tying it off. So it's just the same way you were going around. I'm just going to continue going around the same way and finish out these ties. There's our cutie little pillow. And there's 2 coordinating pillows go along with it. So they're very easy to make, very quick to make. I think this took me, after I got the pattern done, it probably took me for this pillow maybe about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. No more than 45 minutes for sure, but something quick that you can put together for just easy, quick decoration, and it's cute to boot. I began with this sign from Dollar Tree and cut it down to 8 7/8 inches. Then I removed the paper from the sign. Next, I cut a piece of foam core to match the top piece that is already on the sign. Then I used Waverly chalk paint in white to paint all the pieces and set them aside to dry. Here I have the X's and O's to fill in the board. The O's are actually Q's that I cut and sanded to be O's if you don't have O's like I did. I'll be painting the X's with Waverly chalk paint in silver lining, the heart, which came from another Dollar Tree sign in crimson, and the O's in ballet slipper. As an alternative, you can also use stencils, vinyl cutouts, or stickers in place of the wooden letters. Next, I used Waverly Wax and Antique and a small chip-like brush to give the top and bottom pieces of the sign a wood look to match the inspiration piece. Once the wax was dry, I marked the tic-tac-toe segments. Mine measured approximately 2 5/8 inches squared. Next, using the photo from my phone, I marked out the additional lines to make the ticking stripes. Then I used Waverly chalk paint in silver lining and a fine paintbrush to fill in the stripes. Here's a close-up of what the board looks like. It's not perfect, but that's what I love about it. Next, I glued down the bottom piece of the board and then the X's and O's and the heart. And this piece is complete. Here is a side-by-side comparison. If you had to buy all of the supplies except for paint, mine would cost $7. Theirs was $50 at the time of filming this video. I began this project by removing the twine from the crafter square arrow and trimming and sanding down what will be the new roof line. Then I trimmed 2 of these craft sticks down to fit the roof line to give it some dimension. Next, using Waverly chalk paint in ivory, I painted the house and the roof pieces. Once the paint was dry, I came in with Waverly Wax in Antique and painted the roof pieces, then set them aside to dry. Next, I went to canva.com and chose poster, then typed "Love lives here." I used Roman New Times font and font size was 42 and adjusted the line height to 1.2. Then I flipped the image before printing it out. The Canva details are also listed in the description box below. I cut the words from the larger piece of paper and set it aside. Next, I added the window and the door details to the house, and I used a small wooden heart from my stash to finish the door. I used Waverly chalk paint in crimson to paint the door and the 2 hearts. I did 2 coats on each, drying between coats. Then I came in with Waverly Wax and Antique and a fine paintbrush to fill in the windows. I came back to the Love Lives Here printout, and after choosing my placement, I taped it into place. Next, I took a blunt tool and rubbed it all over the printout, making sure it was transferring along the way. Once I was satisfied with the transfer, I removed the printout and outlined the words with an ultra-fine point Sharpie in black. Then I filled in the letters with Waverly Wax and Antique. Next, I went and lined the right and bottom side of each window opening with the same antique wax to give them some dimension. Now it's time to assemble. First, I glued the roof pieces into place.
To make it stand, I glued 2 tumbling tower pieces together end to end, then glued those to the bottom back of the house. I later added another set of blocks for a little more weight. Next, I wrapped a 7-inch piece of floral wire around a skewer, making sure to leave about ½ an inch on each end. I glued a heart on each straight end of the wire. Then I folded the wire into a V shape and secured it to the roof of the house. And this project is complete. Here's a side-by-side comparison. If you had to buy all of the supplies except the paint, mine would cost $4. Theirs is $13 at the time of filming this video. I began this project with one of these shadow box frames. Dollar Tree has a couple of different sizes, and I'll be using the one that measures 5 inches by 5 inches. I carefully deconstructed the frame by pushing out the back, removing as much paper as possible, and making sure to save the riser that the telescope was mounted on. Next, I painted the entire frame with Waverly chalk paint and ink and set it aside to dry. I traced the back of the frame 2 times on a piece of poster board and cut them out. Next, I glued one piece of the poster board to the back of the frame where I removed the paper, then set it aside to dry. I painted the other square with Waverly chalk paint in crimson. I ended up doing 3 coats, drying between each coat. I printed the actual sign from the Kirkland's website and sized it on my printer to suit my needs. You can see that it took me a couple of tries, but I finally got it. As an alternative, you can freehand the heart and writing, use vinyl cutouts, or use stickers and stencils to achieve a similar look. After cutting out the heart, I used a No. 2 pencil to shade the back to prepare to transfer it. Next, I traced and cut the heart with the wording on it from the red painted poster board. Then I taped the heart with the wording on it over the red painted heart to transfer the lettering. I traced over the lettering, checking every so often to make sure it was transferring nicely. Then I removed the heart with the wording on it. I tried a couple of different methods to fill this one in. I'd recommend a paint pen if possible, as I found I was a little shaky while trying to paint this one in. My regular Sharpie paint pen was out, but this one from Dollar Tree did nicely on the My Sunshine portion of the sign. I wanted to make the heart a little more sturdy, so I traced it onto foam core board and cut it out. An alternative is to use the wood heart cutout, or you can skip this step altogether. I glued the heart to the foam board and set it aside to dry. Now it's time to assemble. First, I glued the riser piece to the center of the back piece. Next, I glued the back piece into the frame. Then I glued the heart onto the riser and centered it as best I could. And this project is done. Here's a side-by-side comparison. If you had to buy all of the supplies except the paint, mine would cost $3. Theirs was $10 at the time of filming this video. Here's another look at today's projects. I love how they all turned out, but my favorite is the house.
So what I have here next is a wood frame that I picked up actually at the thrift store again last year, and it's actually one that you can purchase at Michael's. It's the Art Minds brand, and it's a wood frame. I did go online to see if they actually have this particular one, and I didn't see it, but this measures about 8 by 8. So if you have a scrap piece of wood, that you would like to use, or even a frame, it may work for this project. Once you see what I'm fixing to do here, because I'm gonna end up covering this over. So what I have here is the Waverly Wax and Antique and a baby wipe, and I'm just gonna come in with this and get this all over this frame here. All right, so next I have here 2 sets of 5 tumbling tower blocks glued end to end. And the next thing I'm going to do is just glue these pieces here. Oops, got a little crazy with the glue. Glue these pieces here. And then I'm going to use the antique wax on that as well. So I'm using some wood glue and some hot glue. So next what I'm going to do is the same thing like how I did the frame. Just take a wipe here and I'm going to go along all sides of it. I just don't need to do the bottom because we're not going to see the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and do these and then set them aside to dry. So next what I have here is tumbling tower blocks, and I have them glued up in sets already. So I have 7 sets of 3 glued end to end, 2 sets of 2 glued end to end, and then 2 single ones. So in between these and the last ones that we just stained, the 2 sets of 5, we actually used a full box and 1 out of a box. So we used 37 blocks. Okay. So what I want to do is actually kind of give these like a stain of different colors. So I did water down some different color paints. I have this ballerina slipper, and then it goes from white all the way to a dark gray that I have of watered down paints. I will list all of the colors that I used in the description box, as I usually do, but you don't have to use the same exact colors that I use. I wanted to use colors that, I don't know, I guess invoked Valentine's Day, but you could essentially have them out all year. If that makes sense. So basically I have just this light pink color, and I want it to look more of like a stain than anything else. So I'm hoping that's what I'll achieve here, and I'm gonna wipe back some of this color here too, because we can always add. It's more difficult to take away, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with that one. So I only wanted 1 of the pink ones, and now we're gonna move to the white. So I'm gonna do 2 of the white. Alright, so I've got all my pieces together here, and now we're going to go ahead and put the heart. This is going to end up being a heart. I don't know if I said that already. Heart together. So I'm going to take the 1 pink one and then the 2 white ones. And I'm just going to kind of stagger them up. So this is the second set. Okay, so I just want something that looks like this. So it's a nice little ombre heart that comes to pink in the middle. Okay, so, and it's going to end up going over this section here. So what I'm going to do now is start to glue this together, and I'm going to be using wood glue for this. So that's what we have so far. I love it. All right, so I'm gonna let this glue set up a little bit, and then I'll be right back. So the next step that I'm gonna do, and I think this isn't completely dry, but I'm gonna keep going, is to go ahead and glue this right on top of here. And so I wanna make sure that that opening is covered. And then, so I'm gonna start adhering it with the wood glue. And then once I get it kind of stuck on there, then what I'm gonna do is flip it over and put some glue in this, some hot glue in this area here to secure it just a little bit further. Okay. So I'm gonna start by just going around. And of course, if you have just like a real piece of wood, well, like this is a real piece of wood, but if you have like a solid piece of wood, you wouldn't have to do all this extra that I'm doing. As far as where you're trying to secure it at. And I'm going to get some glue just right along in here. Clean out this glue as best as I can. What we have so far. So I'm pretty satisfied with the placement of that, and it's got pretty good adhesion so far, so I'm going to flip it. Let me clean up this. Glue that oozed, and I'm just going to come in with the hot glue gun. And this frame actually came with like a kickstand, I guess, that I could potentially use to just keep it. I guess you kind of can't see that, can you? To just keep it like this. Or I'm thinking that's why I did these here, so that I could have it on a stand. The other option is if you have wall space, you can hang it on the wall. That's kind of where I'm like, should I put it on a stand? Should I make it be on a stand, or should I put it on a wall so it's, I mean, put it so it can hang on the wall? I'm gonna go ahead and make it so it's on the stand. So we're gonna go ahead with some wood glue here. So that's what we have. And I really love the simplicity of this. This was actually inspired by a barn quilt that I saw sometime last year before I did a project. And I've been thinking about one ever since, and I thought, you know what, Valentine's Day is a good time to do one because, I don't know, quilts remind me of love and warmth and That's something that, I know this is going to sound like odd, but a lot of times my mom always made sure that we had quilts on our bed. So, and she always had quilts on her bed. So this kind of resonates with that for me. That's kind of why I wanted to do it in kind of like a neutral color, so that if I wanted to, I could keep it out all year long. So I really love this color scheme. If you're not into pink, you can most certainly choose a different color that goes with your household, or even just do it white. But I think this is my favorite project of the day. So, all right.
If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and leave me a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, love, inspire, create. See you next time.